Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Tetris. I'm going to go ahead and apologize ahead of time. I've been kind of sick the last couple days, but this is still important to me, so we're going to keep moving on with it. Alright, let's look at what we have so far. And that's, we now have this, nicer UI, and the game functions, but I guess what I wanted to finally get to was that blasted issue with the block-on-block collision detection not working. Just falls right through. So I guess it's about time that we do that. And I don't think it's going to be too terribly difficult, but I have been wrong before. So first place I want to look is we will go into our block, and we should have our collision detection here. And what we want is we're checking against the bounds of the board, which is great, but we also now want to check against not just the bounds of the board, but also that collection that the board now has. So it has the blob, and basically what we want to do is loop through every one of the blob rows and then check each of the blob coordinates and see if it matches with one of our coordinates. And that really should be as simple as it is. We're going to add it onto our existing collision detection because we really want an all-in-one solution. So we can then do for var row in board blob. And what a for in loop is going to do is it'll loop through the property names. So it's going to give us our 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 all the way to 19, or 0 to 19, I believe. And so then we can access it using the board blob and then put in row. And that'll give us our values. So that itself is an array. So dot for each. So we're iterating inside of an iteration, but we're doing that in a lot of places. So then what we do is we just say if chord x plus position x equals x is not we keep doing that, don't we? We'll say cell dot okay, that's right. So cell will be the x value. So really what we want is equal to cell and chord y plus position y is equal to row. Then return false. And I suppose we don't want a for each, we want a every, right? Or yeah, I believe that's what we want. What is it complaining about here? Okay, and we're just going to give it a shot. So we open up our Tetris game, press new game, drop a block down, and moment of truth. Nope, still falls right through it. So we're going to debug, open up our block.js, find our collision detection, which is here, and just confirm this is running. Oh, it doesn't look like any of this is running. Okay, that's running. So what is the value of board blob row? It's an array of 8. So okay, and what is the value of cell? It's not available. So I guess it doesn't like the .every function. So we're going to go back to the array MDN site, best resources for array functions, and let's look at every. The every method tests whether all elements in the array pass the test implemented by the provided function. That's right. And that's what I wanted to do. But for whatever reason, it doesn't seem to be calling. This has an array of 4, and I should have hit this if block in here, but I'm not. Why? Okay. I'm not getting JavaScript errors, it's just not working. Well, this has an array of 0, so I'd expect that not to do anything. So, yeah, an array of 8 here. Every function cell okay, one of the other things you can do is when you define these, you can, these watchers, you can put any amount of code in there. Just gonna copy the whole thing over. And we're gonna put this all in here. And it should tell us what the result is. False. Okay. So what I need to do is, if it's false, return false. So that's probably what's going on. Maybe it is working. I believe it is, but I'm not returning the result, so it's just continuing on through and then returning true at the bottom. Because this return false is returning from here, which we want, but we want to capture it here. So basically, it then turns into a it can be an if not then return false. Okay, that might be a little bit to take in, but that could be a nice trick for return false only if you want it, only if it is false. So basically we wrap everything, that whole function, inside of an if statement, which then returns false, or returns a value whether it's true or false. And then if the value of this whole thing is false, then we're going to return false from this function, which is the other every. So that could be a nice shorthand, because what you could do is pipe it to a variable. So you could say var is, var result equals, and then place your function, and then test that. Or you can just wrap it in an if, and then place the return statement on the end. So that's an interesting trick that you can use. It may make it a little harder to read, but it definitely doesn't add a whole bunch of lines to your code. Yeah. So we will save this, and then we are going to remove all breakpoints and refresh. Now if we have a new game, and we have a block fall, that's an interesting one. Wow. Okay. So apparently our first block behaves like normal, and then our second block doesn't move. Why? Well, obviously it has to do with our collision detection, so we will need to figure out why that is. Okay, so we begin the process. So what I'm going to do is, I guess we'll check this out. So cell is 4. And a row is a string of 0. Chord X, chord Y, position X, position X, and position Y. Okay. So the combination of 4 and 0, so X being 4, Y being 0. Okay. And I wish there was a way to show. Kind of the output of this a lot easier. Okay, now what's going on? So we have the same cell. So, okay, x is 4, yes. But 17 is definitely not 0. And I guess it somehow... Let's see. Chord y plus position y equals row. Chord x plus position x equals cell is true. That's okay. So I think that's definitely the piece that's not working. And the question is why? Because I'm going to do a parse int here, just so that we have a correct operation. But it really shouldn't matter too much. I'll switch these to triple equals since they'll all actually be integers now. So another thing I'm going to do while I'm debugging is I'm going to copy this whole statement here, and I'm going to place it in a variable. Var test equals, that'll evaluate and give test a value, and then we can just use test here. Oh, wait. No, that's correct. Okay. So we'll run it again. Alright, and so now we want to see the value of test. The test is false. So let's reread every. Once for each element until the array finds one where the callback returns a falsy value. Maybe because I'm not returning true? Is that the same issue that I had before with these? I think it might be, actually. I never returned true. And so we're getting really weird errors in our game earlier. So let's refresh. Say new game. I'll drop that block down to the bottom. And now it's still returning false, the function itself. So if test is false, which it's not, then I want to return true. What do we have now? 5 0, okay. We have 6, 0. 5, 1. 4, 0. 5, 0, 6, 0. Okay, so I'm going to remove the breakpoint. We're just going to watch it. And we now have the block falling again. So the question remains, will the block fall through the existing block? No. We have done it. We have solved our block-on-block collision detection. So it was just, if you're using an every, make sure, absolutely make sure that you're actually using, that you're actually returning false for when things don't go wrong. That's been my problem twice now, and it's obviously it turns into a pretty big problem. So do make sure that you're using those correctly, and that you are factoring everything in. So I'm waiting for a straight piece. There's one. And looks like most of the rest of the game is still working as desired. So I guess with that being said, we now have a functioning Tetris game that actually works. And now we can start adding in the score, the win and lose logic, speeding up as time goes on, all those other things that make that make the game interesting. So yeah, this is how this is how games are built, and it's definitely it's taken some time, but if you really think about it, I mean, what, have we spent a year on it? No. Okay, then I think we're doing pretty good. Relatively, it's been pretty quick, actually, for how long it's taken us to build this. So, yeah, definitely, there's a lot that you can do when you put the time in. You can make full games, and really, what we were building out was the core, the foundation, the engine. And what you'll find is that hopefully, hopefully I'm not wrong about this, but as we start moving on in development of this game from now on, now that we have all the core pieces in place and working, we have correct detection, we have correct game logic, we have pieces actually fitting into place. Now we can really start adding, moving on to the really nice things. And what you'll find is it's going to be a lot simpler. And it's not going to take anywhere near as much time to implement those things as, relatively to this. We'll be able to add, bigger features in less time than it took us to add some of these basic features. Yeah, it's getting the guts of it, getting the engine built, getting the detections built, and then once you have all those rules in place, then you just call those little helper methods, and we have our we kind of have that I guess the tick down or whatever we called it, where we're for about every 10 ticks that the game goes on, it drops the block down by 1. all we really need to do is just increase that over time. So there's a couple ways we can do that. That's simple enough. And again, this is a great project. I've been able to cover every single line of code and the reasons behind every line of code in this video series. So if you're looking to get into open source and working on a project, this is definitely a really good one to start with. And most of us have played Tetris. We know the rules. We know kind of how the game works and how the game should behave, and it's going to be really nice. I know I had one student who talked about adding like some sounds, game sounds and stuff, so we could put some music on the page or something like that. Definitely, there's always sound effects. Maybe there's a lot of really nice things that we can start getting into now. And if one of those seems interesting to you, please, by all means, come in and do that. Maybe add some different themes. So like the site, I guess, already has a background and kind of a color scheme. The blocks are currently red and then they turn green. Well, we could add different themes. Maybe ones where maybe it's just a simple color change. Maybe you can implement some controls so that you can set the colors. The player can set the colors when they start playing the game. Whatever the case, there's lots of different scenarios that we can go through. And again, this is a really great time to actually start taking on some of these tasks. So if you're interested in doing any open source development, this is a great one to start with. I'm very patient, and if you just send me a message, then please, or then I'll definitely give you pointers, tips, and help with coming up with features and implementing what you want and helping you through the process. I do these series because I enjoy it and I have fun doing it. As you guys know, they're not on YouTube, and there's definitely no advertisements, so I make no money. And but that's not the point of this. The point is to teach, to inspire, to show, and to pass on some of the knowledge that I have been lucky enough to acquire over the years. So please come join me in creating the game. And if you want to see any other things built as well, other potential game ideas, programs, applications, stuff like that, I am definitely looking for some new projects to do other video series on. So if you have any ideas, I'd love to hear them. Otherwise, it's been a great episode. Probably going to cut this one a little short. Not feeling too great. But we will pick back up next time, probably with starting to really get like the scoring system built and stuff like that. So it's time to really turn this into a game. And we could probably even implement some back-end features and stuff like that where we save scores and statistics and stuff like that. So there's lots of things to do, and I've still got some really interesting AI ideas for this. So yeah, it's going to be fun. I will see you guys next time.